Hi there, my name is Brendan and welcome to the Be Creative channel. This video is all about cleaning your hardened Steenbeck airbrushes. Now I'm specifically concentrating on the hardened Steenbeck airbrushes because I have another video out. If you click the link, that little icon at the bottom of the screen right now, you can go to that video to see how to actually clean your airbrush. I'll also put a link in the description as well to that video. With hardened Steenbeck's new 2024 range of airbrushes, they have taken the complicated out of airbrush cleaning. So it's no longer necessary to listen to other people telling you the complicated process of tearing down your airbrush to clean it properly. With the hardened Steenbeck airbrushes, you just need to follow these very simple steps that's going to keep your workflow consistent throughout your airbrushing session. Most importantly, at the end of your airbrushing session, cleaning your airbrush before you pack it away is going to be far simpler and a lot quicker. So let's have a look at what you're going to need for cleaning your airbrush. First of all, what you're going to need is a paint pot to spray your the paint out, and if your thinner, your cleaner, it's a very handy little piece of equipment. I'm just going to move this out the way at the moment and put this here so we can get a better look at it. Okay, so that's the paint pot. Okay, so you're going to need a paint pot to start off with. The next thing you're going to need is obviously your dedicated airbrush cleaner. I've used the Vallejo model air paint inside the color cup at the moment. I use their dedicated airbrush cleaner. You could also use water if you prefer, or whatever paint you're using, use their thinner or cleaner to actually clean out your airbrush. The next thing that you're going to need is obviously a little paint cup, and inside here I've taken some of the cleaner and I've actually put it inside here. All right. Next thing you're going to need is a paintbrush. Now your paintbrush has to have fairly stiff brushes, but it has to be soft. You know, the hairs have to be soft. You also want something that's got longer hairs, because you don't want this metal piece to get inside there and scratch the metal, because paint sticks to the scratches and it's going to make your cleaning process a lot more difficult. Next is a soft cloth, or you can use a paper towel. So let's start off with cleaning your airbrush in between color changes. Now, if you do this consistently, then you will never have a lot of work to do during or even at the end of your airbrush session. Now, I've got the hardened Steenbeck's Evolution 2024. I've got some yellow paint inside here. It's the Vallejo model air paint. I'm going to put the paint pot over here. I'm going to hook up with some air. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to now, all that paint that's inside there, we want to now expel it. We want to get rid of as much of it as possible. So you're going to put your airbrush into the paint pot opening and you're just going to spray everything out. And there you can hear it's not sucking any more paint, and there you see all that paint that was inside there. I've gotten rid of most of it. Now you still got some paint inside the color cup, and we're now going to deal with that. The first thing that you want to do is the next thing that you want to do is using your paintbrush with the long bristles. You're going to put it in your airbrush cleaner in the little cup, and you're going to swirl it around. So you're loosening all that paint that's inside the color cup. You don't have to push it in yet, not necessary to do that. all we're doing is we are just loosening all the paint inside the color cup. And there you can see I've basically loosened all that paint that was inside the color cup. The next thing that you want to do is you're going to get your soft cloth or your paper towel. You're going to wrap it around your finger. Now the hardened Steenbeck color cups have been reprofiled so that it's possible for you to actually take your finger and place it inside there and just give it a little bit of a twist, and there we go. All that paint that was on the edges of the color cup is now being taken away. You still got paint inside there, and we're going to now deal with that. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to put your airbrush back into your pot, and with a pulsing you're just going to spray all of that out. And there we go. So there we go, and you can still see inside the color cup. I'm going to try get in a little bit closer. You can actually see that there's still some paint inside that at the bottom of the color cup and on the needle. And we're now going to deal with that. You're now going to take your airbrush cleaner. Please use the dedicated cleaners that your manufactured paint is actually manufactured. It just makes cleaning a lot easier. We're going to place some of the cleaner inside the color cup, and you can see there it's looking a little bit murky. You're going to take your paintbrush, and now you're going to get inside and push your brush in. Remember, the long the long hairs prevents the metal ferrule from actually scratching the inside of your airbrush. So you're going to get in there, you're going to swish it around, you're going to run it over the needle and try and get in as much as possible there. Okay, so that should be about it. Now what you're going to do is you're going to put it back into your pot, and you are now doing a pulsing action to expel all of that paint and cleaner that's inside there. And there it's now, you can hear it's not sucking anything more, and you can see in the color cup and on the needle that there is no paint, or almost no paint. Yeah, well, it's pretty much clean. So now what we are going to do next, we're going to do that one more time. We're going to put some cleaner inside the color cup, and I'm going to take my paintbrush and my cup that's got the airbrush cleaner. I'm going to dip it in, and I'm going to wipe away at the needle and the nozzle. Now this should get rid of all of that paint that's on the needle and nozzle set. That should be it. And you're going to now, with a pulsing action again, you're now going to spray the rest of that out. You're going to check inside the cup. That cup is pretty much clean, and your needle nozzle set should also be clean. You may just need to wipe it away. If you need to wipe it away, all you have to do is basically just pinch it, and your needle nozzle should be clean. And now you are ready to go ahead and spray your next color. Now I'm going to get in closer here so that you can see that that needle is now clean, and inside your airbrush is now clean. It is so clean now that it will be possible for you to put white paint. I'm almost confident that you can put white paint and spray it immediately without any contamination of whatever color you use contaminating the white paint. So now you're finished with your airbrush session and your airbrush is clean. You look inside and everything looks clean, but now you want to pack away. And this is where the controversial question comes in. Should you strip down your airbrush? Now with the hardened Steenbeck airbrushes, this process, if you followed the process of cleaning in between colors, then I find that this is really not necessary. However, if you feel that it is needed, then here is what I recommend. Put some of the cleaner inside your color cup. So there I've got some airbrush cleaner inside my color cup. You're now going to take your cloth or your paper towel and you're going to blow some of it onto the actual cloth or paper towel to sort of moisten it. Then you're going to wrap this around the actual needle nozzle area, and you're going to now, I've sprayed out a bit too much, I need to put a bit more cleaner in there. You're now going to do what we call a blowback. Okay, so you're going to close off the cap and you're going to push down the air, and you can see there it's now bubbling. What that is doing is it's forcing any residue that might still be left in the on the needle or the internals of the airbrush and in the color cup, and it's basically just blowing it back. Once you've done that, you're going to place it back in your paint pot, and you're going to, with a pulsing action again, you're now going to spray all of that out. Now you do this 2 or 3 times. It should be more than sufficient. And your airbrush should be clean. Just take your paper towel or cloth and just clean out any liquid that might still be inside there, and I should have done that in the pot, terribly sorry. So once you've sprayed everything out, I'm almost certain if you've done this sort of like 2 or 3 times that your airbrush should be clean enough to actually pack away. Now for the last step, you can actually remove your needle. So you're going to loosen the end of your airbrush and you're going to put it one side. You're then going to loosen the needle nut slightly, and you're going to pull out your needle. And if you look here, you can actually almost see that there is no paint or residue on that needle. Let me actually get in a little bit closer so that you can see here. That needle looks pretty much clean. Now to make sure that it is clean, you take your soft cloth or paper towel and you are just going to wipe it in a motion from back to front, and you are then going to just wipe whatever might be on there off. And you can see on the cloth all that it's done is it's left a wet mark, but there's no paint residue on that needle. So now your needle is now clean. You now place it back inside your airbrush. Remember, pulling it back, you just push it as far as possible, give it a slight twist, tighten the needle nut, and then replace the back end, and you should be ready to pack your airbrush away in its box or container or whatever, and that's it. Very simple, very efficient, very quick to do. The most important lesson that you have to look at here with regards to the hardened Steenbeck airbrushes is to never leave anything in your color cup or in the airbrush. So no paint, don't leave thinner or solvent or cleaner inside your airbrush for longer than what you need to paint or clean it with. Fresh paint is always easier to clean than dried paint. A lot of people have actually said, yeah, but what if I need to actually, if I want to do a really deep clean and I want to do a strip down? Like I said, it should not be necessary, but if you feel that you want to do a strip down, I'm going to show you each of these airbrushes, stripping down what is necessary, what tools that you might need. Well, you actually don't need any tools with the hardened Steenbeck airbrushes because everything is disassembled using just your hands and, you know, a little bit of forceful muscle action. So I'm going to get this set up and we'll then show you each of the airbrushes, the Ultra 2024 and the Evolution 2024, and how to actually disassemble and reassemble them the correct way. Now, before we actually go through the process of actually stripping down the airbrush, I'm going to briefly touch on what tools can you use for cleaning your airbrush if you want to actually strip it down. I'm also going to show you the tools that you should not use when cleaning your airbrush. Okay, the first one that you can use. It's not something that I advocate that you do. Is these cleaning brushes. Okay, now be very careful on what type of cleaning brushes you get. You get some of them that have got very hard, stiff bristles, almost sort of like they don't seem to bend. So you need to buy one that's got a fairly stiff brush, but it's not, you know, when you run your finger over it, that it actually bends properly, you know. The reason why I don't recommend actually using this, but if you find it necessary, is this is metal. Okay, this metal can scratch the inside of your airbrush. And when you start scratching the inside of your airbrush, specifically in the front, between, you know, from the seal to the front, paint is going to collect in those scratches, and it's going to make your cleaning process very difficult. So yes, you can get these cleaning brushes, but when you use them, you have to be very careful. I will show you how to actually use them. But yeah, you can actually use these airbrush cleaning brushes. The next thing that I would recommend you getting is if you have any old needles, airbrush needles that you don't use, or if you've got a spare one, or you can even use the needle from the airbrush itself. Now, I use this for if I think that there's paint inside the nozzle and I want to push it out. So you're going to soak your nozzle in a little bit of cleaner using a palette. So you get yourself a palette as well. You put a little bit of cleaner in one or two of these, and you put your nozzle in, you let it soak a little bit. You then take your needle and your nozzle and you basically push it through from the back to the front, and you push out whatever residue might be inside the actual nozzle itself. So yeah, you can use the old airbrush needles or a spare airbrush needle. They do have what they call a it's kind of a tool. Let me just get one out here quickly. You get these little airbrush nozzle cleaners. If you unscrew it, and you see it's got a pretty sharp point, but also with the sharp point, there's a lot of sharp edges, okay? Now when you push that in through your nozzle, it's metal on metal, and it's going to scratch the inside of your nozzle. So I don't really recommend getting one of these needle nozzle cleaning things. You can, but you have to be very careful in how you actually use it. Yeah. The next item that I would say you need to get is yourself a pair of tweezers. Now the tweezers is, I find it easy, like when I've got my nozzle and my needle, my nozzle cap soaking in there, I use the tweezers to pick it up and wipe it clean with your soft cloth or paper towel. Yeah, it just makes handling it a little bit easier, you know. Pick it up with the tweezers, put it in the soft cloth or paper towel, wipe it clean, and yeah, you're ready to put it back in the airbrush. So tweezers, yeah, you can use those as well. The next thing that I have in my arsenal of cleaning tools is this little rubber mat. Now in this rubber mat, you can see there are grooves inside it. Now this is very handy because when you are ready to remove your needle, you place that inside the groove. Your needle's not going to roll around on your table or fall off the table and get damaged. You put it in there, it's going to stay there until you're ready to clean it or put it back in your airbrush. So yes, little rubber mat. You can go to the hardware store and ask to see if they've got any offcuts, or even buy just one rubber mat that's got these grooves in it. And yeah, it's a very handy little thing to have in your cleaning arsenal. Something else that I don't know, this is what I don't recommend using on your airbrush at all. In no circumstances do you go out and get this. Some people I know have got this. Now these are cleaning reamers. Now these are purely metal. As I've said before, you don't want any metal on metal, okay? You're going to cause scratches on the inside of your airbrush, and it's just going to make cleaning your airbrush a lot more difficult. So I'm totally against you using this. If you have it, fine, keep it in your arsenal, fine, but under those circumstances, use it on any of the internals of your airbrush. The next thing that I do not recommend you using on your airbrush under any circumstances is cotton swabs or earbuds. Okay, now there are many brands and manufacturers out there that say that they are tightly packed, and no matter how much they say that they are tightly packed, I don't recommend using them at all. Okay, the reason being is these cotton swabs are made of fibers, of cotton fibers, and these cotton fibers can basically they can unravel, or they can break off, and they can actually get stuck on the inside of your airbrush. Now with the fiber now getting stuck inside there, spraying paint through, and paint basically accumulates around these cotton fibers, okay, which is going to prevent you from actually spraying paint out, because the more the paint sort of accumulates around it, the more it's going to restrict how much paint is actually going to come out. Now I'm going to show you here that, this is a good quality branded cotton swab, but if I take my tweezers and I go like this, you can actually see. I'm actually going to get in a little bit closer here so that you can see. Trying to get a bit of focus here. It's not wanting to focus. There we go. Okay, there we go. We've got in focus. But you can see here, if I'm pulling, you can see how the fibers are just, and I'm not doing this forcefully at all, I'm just lightly doing that, and you can see the fibers just coming off. Those fibers are going to get stuck in your airbrush, and paint is going to accumulate around it, and it's just going to cause you more problems than you actually really need to have. Okay, so under no circumstances, use them for cleaning the outside of your airbrush and everything, but when it comes to the internals of your airbrush, I do not recommend you using them at all. Okay, so let's do a quick strip down of the Hardened Steenbeck's Ultra 2024. Process is very simple, and there are very minimal parts that you actually have to remove. Now, the first thing that you want to do is you want to unscrew the back end, and you're going to put it down on your work surface. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to loosen the needle nut at the end. So you're going to just loosen it slightly, and you're going to pull your needle out carefully. And you see I've still got a little bit of paint left on there, which we are going to clean off. And you're going to place your needle on that rubber mat over there. You can see it's not going to move around, it's not going to fall off the table, it's there. I can pick it up easily, I can clean it, I can put it back in the airbrush. So it's there. Okay, keep it out of the way so that you know, it doesn't obstruct anything that you need to do. The next thing for the Ultra is this little collar here. You're going to take that off, and you're going to place that next to the end cap. Then you're going to take this nut off completely, and you're going to place that also next. And then you're going to loosen this screw here, which holds the spring. Okay, now you can pack them separately, or like I like to do, I like to actually keep it all together like that. And then the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to remove that guide pin. You're going to put that on your surface. And then the next thing that the next piece that you take out is the trigger. All you do is you just pull it out and you place it on the surface. Then we're going to get to the nozzle cap. Now you just unscrew that and you remove it. You put your airbrush down. What you're going to do is you're going to take your nozzle and nozzle cap apart like that, and I actually put each one of them in the palette. With that, I then take my airbrush cleaner and I just put a little bit inside that one and a little bit inside that one, and we are ready to go. If you want, it's not really necessary, you can also remove the cup and put that out of the way as well. Okay, so that's the Hardened Steenbeck Ultra 2024 disassembled. Cleaning this airbrush, very easy. The only areas that you should actually be concentrating on is inside the color cup, inside that little reservoir there, and everything in front. You should not have to worry about doing anything behind here, because that seal that is just behind the color cup, preventing any paint or solvent or whatever liquid from actually going back into the trigger area of your airbrush. So you don't need to clean any of that in the front there. Best way to clean that is you take your paper towel or soft cloth, you're going to dip it in some of the cleaner, and you're going to put it inside here, inside that little reservoir, and you're just going to twist it around and make sure that it's clean. So you're going to check and see, oh yes, okay, that's clean, I don't need to do anything more to that. Then you're going to move to the front, doing the same thing, choosing a clean area of your cloth or paper towel. You're going to dip it into your cleaner, and you're just going to put it inside there, give it a little twist around, and that should now be clean. And you can see there, yeah, that is clean. Okay, I haven't had to use any tools or any cleaning brushes or whatever. If you want, you can actually use your paintbrush, dip it in the cleaner, and you can push it into the actual reservoir, into the direction of the actual opening where the needle goes in. You can do some inside there, and you can turn it around and also do the back end of it where that seal is, and just put a little bit of cleaner there, and that should clean it out. And then you just wipe it with your paper towel or cloth, just to clean all of that off. And that is all that you need to do on the... Okay, so we finished with cleaning the body section of the Ultra 2024, and you are now ready to start with reassembling the parts. Taking your color cup, you're going to insert it into the top here, you're going to push it in. You're then going to take your trigger. Now the trigger has been redesigned so that it can only go in a certain way. So the way you took it out, that's the only way it's going to go back in. It cannot be put in any other way. Also, you can actually look at the top of the head here. There's a little bit of a notch out of it. Okay, that will always face forward. The lever on the hardened Steenbeck Ultra is, it doesn't swivel around like the previous Ultra models. This little lever was able to swivel around. It made reinserting the trigger a little bit of a difficult thing. The only movement that the lever has is an up and down movement, which is necessary. Okay, so we're going to insert the trigger. You can see there it's still set a little bit too high, so you're going to get the correct position. Oops. I'm going to get that in there. And there we go, the trigger is now set. Okay, if I push down and pull back, you can see it is moving in correctly. Okay, then you're going to take your needle guard, you're going to insert that, and while you are pushing down on the trigger, you're then going to push this guard in, and you're going to turn it, and it'll kind of like, it'll click or lock into position. Okay, so you won't be able to twist it around anymore. Okay, it's now set in the position where it's supposed to be. The next, you're going to take your spring, your needle guard, the return spring. You're going to take the needle guard nut, and you're going to screw that into position, and you are done. Check to see trigger movement. Yes, it is moving, and you can see the needle guard is actually moving backwards and forwards. All right, the next thing you're going to take is your needle chuck, and you're going to screw that back in all the way, and then you're going to just untwist it sort of a quarter turn or even a half a turn, and then you're going to put your airbrush down, because now we're going to deal with the nozzle and the needle cap. or the nozzle cap. Okay, I always start off with the nozzle cap. We're going to clean the inside of the nozzle cap. Now, it's not necessary to use any abrasive materials or anything. Just using your paintbrush, you're going to dip it in your cleaner, and you're basically going to swirl it around on the inside of the needle cap. You're going to wipe it to make sure that there's no residue. That looks pretty clean. Then you're going to turn it to the front end of your nozzle cap, and you're going to swirl around your paintbrush and clean off any residue that might be at the tip there. Wipe it off, and that is done. You're just going to I'm just going to wipe this down so that it's now dry, and I'm going to place it right there. Then we're going to move on to the nozzle head. Now this you've got to be very careful with, because that nozzle head there, it's the diameter of the opening is done at a certain diameter, so that it allows the needle to actually pass through. Okay, cleaning that, just using your paper towel or soft cloth, you're going to wipe it clean. You're then going to check the inside to see if there's any paint. Now you should be able to, if you look through the opening at the back, you should see light or the opening of the front end without any restrictions. If you do not see that opening in the front, this is where you then take your spare needle that you've got stored. You're going to dip your nozzle into your cleaner, and from the back going to the front, you're just going to push that needle through gently till you see the needle tip come out. Okay, don't force it, just gently push it in and then pull it out, and it should be now clear. I usually just sort of like get any excess cleaner that's inside there. I'll wipe, just tap the tip of the nozzle head onto my cloth or paper towel, and the liquid that's inside there will just flow out. Now if you look again, you should be able to see from the back end, you should actually see the opening at the nozzle head. If you see that, you are ready to now reinsert it. All it is you basically push it in gently, and you are done. Now you're ready to reattach it to the airbrush, and you're going to screw that in, twisting it, turning it till it goes no further. Okay, so make sure that it's a proper seal, so really tighten that just using your fingers. You don't need to use a spanner or any tools, and that will then seal everything inside there. The way I always clean my needles is I take my soft cloth or paper towel, I then take my cleaner and I put a little bit onto the cloth or paper towel, and I allow it to soak in a little bit. So you just soak it in a little bit, and then you're going to take your needle and you're going to wrap it. You're going to wrap your cloth or paper towel around the needle. Okay, now starting from the back, moving towards the front. All you're going to do is you're just going to pull it through. Okay, you're just going to wipe it like that. That's all you need to do. You can see there was a little bit of residue on the needle, and if you do it again, wrapping the cloth around, I then pull through, twisting the needle at the same time, and you can see now there is no residue on that needle itself. You are now ready to put that back into the airbrush. Now remember that Hard and Steenbeck have redesigned the needle chuck at the end, so that it's the end of it is actually got a funnel sort of shape. So it basically helps to self-guide your needle in. Now, this is where you have to be careful. When reinserting your needle, do not be forceful with this, okay? Just gently push it through. When you get to that seal, there will be a slight bit of resistance, okay? Don't hammer it in, you know, don't slam it, don't take a hammer or chisel or whatever and basically slam it through, because it's going to cause the nozzle head to split or to actually how can I say, bloom, and yeah, it's just going to cause you problems when you're wanting to airbrush. Okay, so you're just going to push it gently until you see that the nozzle, that the needle tip has actually gone through the nozzle head. Now I'm going to get in a little bit close here so you can see that the needle tip is actually now through. There we have the needle seated properly in the airbrush. Okay, so now we're going to, the next step that we're going to do is then we're going to tighten this needle chuck. Now you're going to tighten it as much as you can so that it doesn't go any further, just using your fingers. Okay, now we're going to check to see, is everything working properly? So I'm going to push down, I'm going to pull back the trigger, and yes, the needle is moving back. And you can check the front as well to see, yes, okay, the needle is moving backwards and forwards. I'm going to get in a little bit close here again so that you can see. Come on, focus, 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 focus. Okay, so there you see the needle tip. Okay, I'm going to pull back on the trigger and you see the needle is moving backwards and forwards freely with no issues at all. So the next thing that we have to do is to reposition this collar. So you're just going to place that in the correct position. Then you're going to take your end cap or your end piece, you're going to put that in and you're going to screw it on, and that's it. We are ready to go. That is now the hardened Steenbeck Ultra 2024 disassembled, cleaned, and then reassembled. It's as simple as that. Quick and efficient. Okay, so we've got the hardened Steenbeck's Evolution 2024 model here. Now the stripping down or disassembly of the Evolution and the Ultra is more or less basically the same. I'm not going to clean this airbrush because previously when I showed you the quick method of cleaning, you know, between colors changes and everything, I'm confident that this airbrush is actually clean. So I'm just going to concentrate more on showing you the stripping down, and I'm going to add in the areas where I add lubricant, you know, what I use for the lubricant and where I actually put the lubricant on certain parts of the airbrush. So stripping down or disassembly, starting off with the rear, you're going to take this back end off, you're going to place it one side, you're going to loosen the needle chuck nut, you're going to place that down there. You're then going to remove the needle, pulling it back very carefully. You're going to place it on your little rubber mat or wherever you've decided to put it. You're then going to loosen this gold piece. Now this entire section here comes out as one sort of like unit. Okay, so you've got your needle guide, your spring, and then the nut that basically screws in everything and holds it in place. You're then going to remove your trigger and place that there, and then you're going to take off your needle, your nozzle and your nozzle cap, and you're going to place it in your specific thinner or cleaner, and then if you want, you can actually also remove the cup by unscrewing it, and there we go, we are ready. That is now the Evolution 2024 disassembled. As I said, I'm not going to go through the process of cleaning it because I'm confident that this airbrush is actually clean. So, reassembling the Evolution 2024, you're going to start with the color cup again. You're going to just screw it on. If I can find the thread, it's normally not this difficult. Okay, so that just screws on like that, all ready to go. You're then going to take your trigger. Now, like the Evolution 2024, it has a flat end which will always face to the front. This lever doesn't swivel around, so it's easy to place and put in back into the airbrush. It can only go in one way, so you position it correctly and get it seated in there, and you're going to push down so that it is nicely seated in there. Then you're going to take your needle guard, your spring, you're going to put that on, and then you're going to take the locking nut, and you're going to hold that all in one position like that, and you're going to now push this in. You're going to push down on the trigger, and you're going to, and it should lock immediately. It should lock into place immediately. You don't have to turn it or anything. You're going to check and see, yes, okay, the needle guard is moving backwards and forwards. You're then going to take your needle chuck. You're going to put that at the end of your needle guard, screwing it all the way in till it's tight, then opening it up sort of 1/4 or even half a turn. You're then going to go through the process of cleaning your nozzle and your nozzle cap. Okay, I'm more or less confident that it's clean, so I'm just going to wipe it down with a paper towel or a soft cloth in my case. I'm going to place it one side. I'm going to take the nozzle, which as you can see is nice and clean. I'm going to wipe that down as well. I'm going to place the nozzle head inside the nozzle cap, and we're then going to screw this back onto, or reattach it to the front end of your airbrush. You just have to use your fingers. You tighten it as much as it can go, and that's it. It's done. You don't need to do anything more. Now, when it comes to lubricating, there are only basically two places that I actually lubricate anything on an airbrush, and that is basically inside the trigger mechanism and on the needle. Okay, so now get yourself a small pointed paintbrush. You know, the finer the point, the better it is, because you only need to use just a little bit of the lubricant. I've got a little bit of lubricant inside here. I'm just going to get some of that on this brush, and all you're going to do is you're just going to dab a little bit inside there, just so that it lubricates the trigger mechanism. That's all you need to do. You don't need to pour in a whole lot of lubricant to lubricate that area. It's really not necessary. And then you're going to test, and you're going to feel, oh yes, okay, it's a lot smoother now. Now when it comes to the needle, I take my glycerine or whatever lubricant you have. You place a little bit on a cloth, you soak it in, and then with your needle, holding it at the back, you don't need to do the whole needle. You can kind of like start sort of like halfway, because you only need lubricant in that area there basically. But you're going to sort of like wrap the cloth or the paper towel around there with the lubricant, and as you're pulling back, you're going to twist it so that it coats or covers the entire needle. So I'm pulling it back just slowly, and I'm twisting it at the same time, all the way back, all the way to the front of the needle. And that's it. Your needle is now lubricated. You don't need to do anything more than that. You don't have to dip it in the lubricant. You don't have to pour it on or anything. Just a little bit on the cloth. Just pull it back, and as you're pulling back, you're twisting, and that's all you have to do. Then you're going to replace your needle, pushing it in from the rear to the front. When it gets to about there, you're going to feel there's a bit of resistance. Just a little bit more pressure, and you're going to push it through, and you're going to see that the needle now comes through. Let me actually come in a little bit closer. Come on, focus. There we go. You can see the needle there. Okay, I'm actually going to pull it out so you can see. Okay, there's the needle pulling out, and you're going to pull it back in. All right. You don't need to forcefully push it all the way. You don't have to force it in, okay? Once it is showing through there, all you need to do is you twist or you turn the needle chuck so that it's tight. That's all you need to do. Last step is, of course, just replacing the end cap, tightening that as much as possible so that the needle chuck is either visible. You can either have it visible on either side, or you can have it showing from the top. You know, it's your preference. Then you're going to just check to see that everything is working. You're going to pull back the needle, and you're going to see that the needle is retracting. You know, that it's moving backwards and forwards. And yeah, it is, and that's it. That's all it is when it comes to disassemble and reassemble the Harden Steenbeck Evolution 2024. So that's the process for cleaning your Harden Steenbeck's Ultra 2024 airbrush and the Evolution 2024. Okay, very simple and efficient. I do have another video that is on my YouTube channel. I will add a link in the description to that video. Now that video it concentrates more on the airbrushes that have been manufactured by other brands or companies. It is not aimed at the Harden Steenbeck. I specifically did this video for the Harden Steenbeck airbrushes because their airbrushes have been engineered and designed in a unique way that allows you to maintain and clean it very, very easily. If you have to disassemble it, then it is there are no tools required to disassemble it. There are very minimal parts that actually need to be taken apart and disassembled. Cleaning it is very, very quick and efficient, as you've seen. And also when you're reassembling it, you've got a small parts count, and there's also no confusion as to how or where the parts need to go, because the way you take it apart, everything should just fit in where it's supposed to go. That's how they have designed and engineered these airbrushes, so that it makes it a lot more user-friendly and quicker to go through those processes. For cleaning your airbrush, you don't need a lot either. All you need is your cleaning pot, your dedicated airbrush cleaner from your paint manufacturer. You need your airbrush lubricant. Now you can use either a dedicated airbrush lubricant, or like in my case, I just go and I bought myself a bottle of pure glycerine from the local pharmacy. You need a paintbrush with long hairs that are pretty stiff but soft to the touch. You need a set of tweezers so that you can handle the nozzle and nozzle cap a lot easier. You need a paint palette so that you can soak your nozzle cap and nozzle head. And you need a rubber mat that has some grooves in it, so when you take your needle out, you place it in the groove and your needle isn't going to roll around on your work surface. Very simple and easy process. Now I want to thank you all for watching this video. It is much appreciated. It would be even more appreciated if you head on down to that little thumbs up button and give this video a like, because every single like helps my channel to grow and be sort of like, how can I say, spread out or available for more people worldwide to actually see. Leaving a comment, that would be even more appreciated as well. You don't have to say much. You can just say, hi, how's it going? Like the video, don't like the video, or if you have a question or a query or want to know something a little bit more about the hardened Steenbeck airbrushes, every single comment that is left, no matter how short or how long, I will actually reply to it. Every comment also helps my channel to grow. So yes, go ahead, just write a short little message. I will be very happy with that. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button, go to that little notification bell, click on that, select all, and every single new video or whatever content I upload onto my YouTube channel, you will be notified of it immediately. I want to thank Philip and Lindy from Supernova Studios for loaning me these two wonderful airbrushes to actually do this demonstration of how to clean your airbrush. I will leave a link in the description to Supernova Studio's web store here in South Africa. These airbrushes are available through them. They are the official importers and distributors of the hardened Steenbeck range of airbrushes. If you are looking to get yourself an airbrush, look no further than the hardened Steenbeck airbrushes. They are, priced a little bit on the high side, but you're investing on an airbrush that in 10, 15, 20 years down the line, you're still going to be using this airbrush. There are parts that you can interchange, and you can basically buy any one of the airbrushes, and you actually can upgrade that airbrush just by changing a few small little parts so that it meets your skill level of airbrushing in the future. So in closing, I want to say, go out there, be inspired, be imaginative, but most of all, go out there and be creative. Cheers for now.